So at EV Living, let it not be said that we don't like a good road trip, especially as the car's battery range gets better and better, and as the infrastructure around South Africa, and in particular the Western Cape where we based, improves. So this weekend we've got Audi's e-tron 55. It's one of 6 new e-trons that will launch in South Africa in February 2022. It has an indicated range currently of 380. We topped it up overnight in our grid cars installed wall box, and yeah, let's see how we go. So we're on our way to Robertson, and because we had so much range in hand, we've come via Franschhoek, which is always nice this time of year. Came over the Franschhoek pass, put it in dynamic mode, but look, it's a 2.5 ton SUV, so it's never going to be that sharp, but still nicely sure-footed. In terms of range, I seem to be gaining range actually, and it's obviously to do with the regenerative braking. I'm not doing anything, it's obviously monitoring it itself, and where it feels it can, it's regenerating the brake. So I've gained range. We're still well on track to get to Robertson with ample range. The one thing I did note, which is a little bit disappointing compared with the Taycan that I took to George, is once I put the destination in the sat nav of that car, it told me my estimated time of arrival and the estimated remaining battery life, whereas in the e-tron it doesn't do that. So you can obviously see how much range you've got left, but it's a little bit more tricky to predict your driving style and when you're going to get there and how much range is left. Otherwise, really comfortable. This car's got optional 21-inch tires on it, but big profile, so very comfortable, and then standard adaptive air suspension, so really wafty. It's been really cool so far, so let's see how far we get. So we took a drive out to Robertson, a beautiful valley just outside of Cape Town. We had more than enough range obviously to explore the town. Visited a few of the wine farms, really nice. And then we came to the Lab guest house, which is just outside of Robertson. Lovely facility and very eco-friendly, a lot of automation, no plastic cups in the room, that kind of thing. And the beauty of it from an EV owner's point of view is they have a charge station, and it's solar powered. They've got a little BMW i3 that the owner runs around in. It's got 120,000 kilometers on it, and yeah, he really enjoys it. And then obviously we've got our e-tron, and we plugged into the charge station overnight, and again we're full the next morning. So we're going to do a bit more exploring and then head home. So let me address the side mirrors on this e-tron. There are cameras in place of traditional mirrors. I first sampled it when I drove a Volkswagen XL1 a few years ago, and in that car they kind of made sense because there was quite a narrow little cocoon of a car, and the visibility wasn't great, so it was quite a novel idea. So these are optional on the e-tron. I don't love them. For a start, I think they're a security risk. I also think the likelihood of someone cycling past or driving past on a narrow road and taking the thing off by mistake is pretty high in our market, and I would hate to know what they cost to replace. Also, the screen is great and it's quite novel, and it flashes when a car's in your blind spot, but you know, when you have a normal mirror you can look, and then if you're not sure then you can look, and you can do all sorts of movements. That's fixed, so there's no trying to get to the blind spot. Obviously it tells you there's a car in your blind spot, but the reassurance of being able to see it is always better. So yeah, it's an option on this car. I'm not sure I would tick it. It certainly turns the heads, and it's a nice conversation piece, but yeah, each to their own. So the one thing I didn't realize, and I actually haven't read a lot of press around it, is this car has predictive recuperation. So even though I'm not using the cruise control, it's predicting if I coast up to a slower moving car, it's predicting it's an opportunity to recoup. So it's actually braking itself to maintain the distance. So that's something that usually is only really engaged when you have adaptive cruise control running, but I don't have adaptive cruise control on, and yet if I cruise up to a slower car, I can see the charge is recouping and it's braking. So I mean, I obviously haven't tested whether the car will come to a complete stop, but it's very clever and actually a nice way to gain range as you're driving. And so we're back after about a 300-kilometer round trip for a weekend away. With the e-tron's available range, we probably could have got there and back on a single charge, but obviously the appeal of having accommodation that has a charge facility there meant we could go the long way there and indeed the long way back. On the open roads, e-tron really impressed. It's got standard adaptive air suspension, which is amazing. Obviously high profile fat rubber, which is cool. And yeah, it's spacious. What I like about the e-tron in particular, the sport pack variant will come as well in February, but what I like about it is it's instantly recognizable as a member of Audi's Q family. So I think people will be drawn to that. It's obviously very spacious, a lot of packing space. Yeah, it's not cheap, but none of the EVs are going to be for the time being. A lot of that is out of the manufacturer's hands, and let's see what happens. And then I think there's going to be more and more charging facilities around, but certainly in terms of the everyday commute, if you've got a charge station in your garage, as we do, you come in, plug it in, and you should have between 380 k's and 400 k's of range, and that's nice. That's more than enough to handle a daily commute for most South Africans. So yeah, that's the Audi e-tron 55.